This video is sponsored by DecalWorks, offering 10% off all graphics to retail customers. Use the promo code RX10 at decalmx.com to receive 10% off your graphics.
Hey guys and gals, welcome to another RacerX Garage Build. You're staring at a 2022 Honda CRF450R. If there is one 450 that needs love, that needs care, that needs attention, I feel like it is the red machine in the Honda world, not the gas, all right? There are two red machines now, but this Honda is the sexiest motorcycle out there, at least in my opinion, but it also needs the most attention. It's like having a very, very attractive wife that requires you to not have a job and just pay attention to her 24/7 of the day. This is what this bike is like to me. So we got the Wrangler, that's right, Chad from XPR. He knows these bikes very good, inside and out. And you guys may be looking at it, and it's cosmetically may not be the most cosmetically proven bike that we have done here on a garage build, but the changes that we did make really helped this machine, so I wanted to keep the fluff to a minimum. Obviously, we got stock bars, we got stock grips, we have a stock sprocket and chain. We're hitting the key points here to actually make a difference on the track for you guys, because I get tons of emails. Oh my gosh, if there is an email that I get the most of, it is Honda CRF450R emails. Please help me, Keefer, please help me. Well, we're here today to break this thing down, what we did to make your Honda 450 calmer, more relaxed, still attractive, but just a relaxed version. Maybe you can get outside the house for a couple days and not have her freak out, or switch tracks, not have her freak out. This is what this bike's all about here today. So stay tuned. I'll bring Chad in, and we'll explain this whole thing here right now today at Glen Helen Raceway. All right, guys, wrapped it up here at Glen Helen Raceway. As you guys know, the 2022 Honda CRF450R is a fickle bleep for me. It is, just like we said, a beautiful wife that you come home to, but she is just a lot of work. This is the CRF450R, and Chad just smiled a little bit, so that was funny. That's very hard for him to do. So, introducing Chad Braun at XPR Motorsports. This is somewhat your baby over the last couple of months. I dropped this off to you. I said, give me a better handling CRF450R within the motor, because if you guys don't know this, you can make a Honda more compliant with just doing some certain things to your engine without even touching the chassis. Hence the reason why we left the stock 22 offset, stock Renthal bar, and you guys know that I love me a Pro Taper bar with a little bit more dampening. I would prefer a 23.5 or a 24 millimeter offset to push this out, but I wanted to leave that stuff stock just to drive the point home. We can get this thing more compliant and happier at different areas here in Southern California, which in turn is going to be a lot better for you East Coast guys. So, Chad, break down what you have done to this engine.
Okay, well, we started off with a piston. We went a little bit higher compression. We modified the stock camshaft. Also, we tack welded the flange to the actual core of the cam
Explain why that happens. Why do you do that?
It's more of a safety thing to make sure that when the bike gets really hot, that under certain loads, that's not going to move. We even do it with all the race bikes, and we started doing it on the consumer bikes as well. So from there, we did a little bit of porting, and then we moved back to, we did ECU.
Which is a Vortex.
Vortex ECU with a carbon fiber intake runner.
That is the snorkel piece of the intake, correct?
Yep. A little bit, T4 fuel, a Krapovich pipe, and
Some holes in the airbox.
yeah, speed hole.
Side panel, sorry.
Yeah. Just
Speed holes. I like that, yeah.
just for a little bit more air when it's hot out, and it helps with some fuels that you run. So, yeah.
So all of this stuff you can get through XPR. So just my personal opinion, and here's what I feel like. Obviously, there is some other things done to it. Factory Connection did the suspension for my weight. Also, Factory Connection also sells a linkage rod and knuckle to go with their setting. We're going to talk about that with my guy David here in a little bit. But with just this engine package, if you guys scroll back to my other 2022 videos of the Honda, and even you're about to see the 23 video, or if you haven't seen that, you probably will be up by the time this video is up. It's hard to run third gear with this bike. This bike likes to be downshifted into second no matter what gearing you run. I've ran 1452, 1453. That helps chassis compliance a little bit. But with this engine package, I can leave this thing in third gear, and the recovery is instant. My guy David's a vet B rider. He talked about that. So just right there, having a little bit more front side. It's a big word for me.
Yeah, no, front side.
Front side will help you stay in third gear. Chad, how anal am I about having a smooth motor? Tell the people at home how picky of a son of a bee I am.
Very. I mean, we spent days, months on other bikes, trying to make it really smooth and rideable. That's the key, right? Connected as well.
So having more front side, which is basically, if you guys don't know at home, it's bottom end. More bottom end torque feeling out of corners. Now, there's a slippery slope there. You get too much of that, and you get too much of a grabby feeling engine, too touchy. But how do you achieve, what makes it have that recovery and good RPM response, but yet not grabby? What's the magic juice?
So we make the power, manage it with the ECU, right? The whole trick and what we're trying to do is not yank the arms out, but be smooth and linear, but still have the meat to be able to pull third gear, because like you said, it's incredibly hard on this bike to do. Actually, most bikes, but this one's hard.
A 450 has enough power, people. We don't need more. And when I say, hey, we added more, like, it's not about getting a fire-breathing machine. It's about spreading that power around. And when you spread it around the correct way, you get a more compliant chassis. The downside, of course, it costs more money. But in the production world, there's very few bikes, and you guys know that, and you know that I love a Yamaha. Yep. Even that is very grabby and touchy in stock form. You have to do some things to make it linear. In the production testing world, they want to have an exciting engine. Honda wants an exciting bike. So when customers buy the bike, that initial response when you're out of the pits or you go roll that throttle on the track, you're like, whoa, this thing's exciting, it's fun, it makes me want to ride it. But in reality, it wears you down, it makes you tired. So I like to ride a longer time versus 2 laps, arm pump, and then I'm just sitting around. I like to ride motos. So for those of you that have a Honda, want a more compliant chassis, and a friendlier, longer engine, this whole package helps this bike. One thing I like that you did, and maybe you can tell the people at home, how did you get the hydraulic clutch cable routed? What's the process here? Because that's really Sano. Versus having it out here, which is kind of a nightmare for me. It looks way better over here. What's the process? The routing, I know, but people don't know how to route. Explain to the people out here, Chad.
We didn't disconnect any of the hydraulic lines. Honestly, we just ran it up through the top and around the same way it was ran before, but just around to the front versus by the tank.
It's that easy. I've explained it to people before, and they did not understand it. There's enough clearance.
Oh, tons of clearance, yeah.
So if you want a more of a Sano Honda, my guy behind the camera here is tripping because he wants to do that to his bike now. We'll talk to him in a minute. But Spencer will zoom in. You can see where it's routed. Looks very Sano. Goes a little bit old school on the Honda. and you guys can route it that way to make a cleaner bike. So I brought a Honda owner in. David Martinez, he's a fireman, San Bernardino County, but he owns a 2022 CRF450R WE. That's Works Edition. He spent $87,000 on this bike.
$14,000.
Same thing to me. $14,000 is a lot of money, right? So he proceeded to ask for more compliancy. I need more comfort. So Dave, what did you put on your machine before we break this down a little bit more?
I put on Pro Taper bars. I put on the Ride Engineering triple clamps, and had
23.5.
23.5, and had the suspension done by Factory Connection.
So you're adding a couple grand.
Yes.
So that is just strictly from suspension to clamps and bar comfort, a little less vibration. So we didn't do that with the clamps and the bars just to make a point. With Chad's XPR engine setting, Factory Connection, I wanted to use the same suspension company that Dave had, set to my specs, and also the knuckle and rods. And then I'm going to tell you a little trick that is very, very touchy subject in the world of testing. So the shock tower that goes across this frame right here has a big block. The very tops of them have sharp edges on them. So what we did is we filed that edge off on the shock tower, which Honda does not recommend. So if there is a disclaimer right here, Honda does not recommend doing this, but I have tried it and I've noticed a difference. So by doing that, and you guys need to calm down at home, don't just start grinding away your frame, but I just kissed it with a file, and you will see it. We'll do a close-up here with the camera. The very top of the shock tower just has an edge on it, and I just file that edge down just a little bit, just to make it chamfered a little bit. And there's two sides. You can file one, go ride it, and see if you can feel a difference. If you can't, do the other side, just the two top sides, and that will create more compliancy in the rear end. Now, what did you feel compared to your bike?
This bike is way more stable going straight down the straightaways on the gas. My bike still has a little bit of nervous feeling when you're on the gas.
On the edges of tires?
No, going straight. This is way more stable. Coming into corners, the rear end wants to settle more for me. It seems like it's a lot more, it's smoother to ride. It's easier to ride for sure. Some of that rigidity is out of it altogether compared to my bike and the stuff I've done to it, which is better, but this bike is better from what my bike is for sure.
So what I like to call, it's called edginess. Obviously, it's still a Honda. You're going to have a little bit more of a rigid feel, even though on paper, the engineers claim that this frame chassis is one of the softest out of all of them around. So maybe that is why we feel like it's rigid, because it's compressing and stretching and binding, and then it unloads, and maybe that's why the energy outside in here at the tracks, it kind of feels edgy and it just kind of unloads, and that's why we feel like harshness. That's what I feel. So with some of that in the shock tower, and then obviously the linkage makes a huge difference. You just get more rear wheel traction. Coupled with all of that and Chad's engine spec from XPR, it just allows you to ride a gear higher. The chassis is freed up more and just is more compliant, especially for me, maybe not him, on the edges of tire. This is where I need to have a bike feel compliant. I need more tire contact patch, and this is what the stock Honda is lacking I guess in my opinion, this is where it's lacking. So the reasons why you bought a Honda is?
Because I don't turn well. My corner speed's not the greatest, and I came from Yamaha's, which is a hard bike to turn. It wants to push for me anyway. I got on a Honda, and I can turn the bike a lot better than I can my Yamaha. So I bought a Honda. I like the way the bike feels. It's better for me as far as my speed goes. And then we started working, obviously, the rigidity part of it, and we started working towards this goal. So I like the Honda way it feels, and the power's good. I just don't like the rigidity that comes with it, but we've gotten a lot better with it so far.
Now, when you ride softer tracks, and when we have that from time to time out here, we do have a couple that we can go to. Do you feel the rigidity as much as when you come to Glen Helen?
No. This is the worst track right here. Glen Helen's the worst track, especially end of the day. It gets hard packed and choppy, and you can really, that bike just beats you up. I don't care what you've done. My bike still beats me up a little bit too. So, but at the end of the day, I'm worked. This bike, the way the chassis is, I could ride it a lot easier. It seems like, especially what Chad did to the motor. It just, the whole thing is a lot softer, more compliant for me.
Yeah. So I concur with Dave on this. For me, it still is a Honda feel. You still have that Honda feel, but I can just use the edges of my tire better. The motor has better recovery. If I am lugging it, it gets back in the meat of the power. There's more connection. The way Chad maps this and with the mods that he does with the engine, there's less engine braking. So right there, you actually came in and told me about this, is you have less pitching coming into corners. So the frame is actually calmer. You can run a little bit of a softer fork setting. And with all of this in mind, it just makes for a more pleasant Honda to ride. Like I said, when I walk out in the shop, there's not another bike I want to ride first than a Honda until I ride it, and then it changes my mind. So now that I rode this, I'm a little bit happier. I don't mind riding to Glen Helen as much. But now, I don't want to blow smoke up your guys' butt, but this is what this guy tells me when he comes off the track. Why do you want to jack my bike?
I'll trade him my 22 Works Edition Honda right now for this bike.
Why?
Well, one, the motor is unbelievable. It's a fast motor, but it's easy to ride and controllable. And
It's difficult to understand, to try to relate that, but go ahead.
I mean, third gear, for example. My bike, I have to shift second, third. It doesn't like third gear unless you're on the gas shifting. This bike I could keep in third gear around the whole track and clutch when I need to, and it's a rocket ship. It's a fun bike to ride, especially in a race condition. Towards the end of the motor, if you're getting tired, keep it in third gear, slow down a little bit, and I think you'll actually go faster because it's easier to ride and not break you off like my bike will do. So
There's an old saying that our dads probably told you guys too, is work smarter, not harder. And this is kind of that bike. And now you got a more pleasant person to come home to. She's not going to yell at you all the time. You're not pissed off at her because you had a good day of riding. And it's just going to help your family life. If you guys have any questions about this bike, always Kris at KeeferIncTesting.com. I'm happy to help you guys. That's what we built this business for, is to give you extra love and just not the videos. You guys might be lost, so we're here to help you guys. As well, you can visit XPRMotorsports.com. Chad over there can help you. And this guy has an email. We're not going to give it out because you're a government employee.
that's correct.
Let's be nice. $30, 12 issues, Racer X magazine. There is a publication still out there that's cool, gives you some information. Good ads. I like ads. Sometimes you don't really care about ads, but I think ads are cool. So check those out. And we'll see you on the next Go Around. Dave, say bye.
Have a good day. Thank you.